Oh, baby, there's a scene you'd like to catch.
A Nashville studio may seem an unlikely place for the queen of disco, but the voice is unmistakably Gloria Gaynor.
It's not a sound people are necessarily accustomed to with you.
No, but you know, I often say, I've been telling people for 40 years I will survive. I think it's time I told them how. At first I was afraid, I was petrified. Kept thinking I could never live without you by my side.
4 decades after her signature song hit #1 and became an anthem of endurance,
And I learned how to get along, so now you're back.
the 69-year-old singer's new album, Testimony, is her own tale of survival.
I should have changed that stupid lock. I should have made you leave your keys.
Now, how would you describe your childhood?
Happy. Poor,
Yeah.
but happy. I realized in later years that children don't realize they're poor as long as they're loved.
One of 7 children, Gloria Fowles, Gaynor is her stage name, grew up in Newark, New Jersey. She was devoted to her mother, but when she was 12, she says, her mom's boyfriend molested her.
But you didn't want to tell your mother.
No. No, I didn't want to tell her because I believed that she would kill him.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I just kept it to myself.
What was the price of keeping it to yourself?
A feeling of unworthiness, insecurity. That was the price. I was just constantly going through one bad so-called relationship after another, right up into and through my marriage.
Music was always Gloria's salvation. Her 5 brothers didn't want a girl singing with them, but one day a neighbor noticed.
I was standing in the hallway and I started singing. And she said, "Gloria, was that you singing?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "My goodness, I thought that was the radio." And I thought, wow, I can do this. I can do this. I'm going to be a singer.
I never can say goodbye.
In 1975, she rode the disco wave into the top 10 of the pop charts. Never Can Say Goodbye and a string of dance hits led DJs to crown her the queen of disco. But a few years later, she had a bad fall on stage at New York's Beacon Theater.
And you finished the show.
And I finished the show.
But you woke up the next morning.
Woke up the next morning paralyzed from the waist down. Just couldn't move. My legs, my hips, nothing.
What were you thinking?
I was thinking I'm going to die.
How long were you in the hospital for?
From March 15th to July 3rd.
Wow.
Gaynor recovered, but when she went in to record her next single,
I was in a back brace.
the song was called Substitute, but the label needed something for the flip side. The writers had a suggestion.
They wrote this out on a paper bag for you, is that right?
Yeah. They didn't have it with them, so they wrote it down. I said, "What are you, nuts? You're gonna put this on the B-side? This is a timeless lyric."
Her label refused to promote I Will Survive, but Gaynor didn't let that stop her.
This is the old Studio 54.
Yes, it is.
They still have the disco ball.
I see.
So you brought the record here.
Yes, I brought it here to give to the DJ who is very popular here. We gave him a whole case of them and told him to give them to his DJ friends all around New York, and he did that, and they began to play it, and then people began to request it.
That's how it caught fire.
That's how it caught fire.
A fire that carried it all the way to #1 in 1979, and won Gaynor the first and only Grammy ever awarded for Best Disco Recording. But at the peak of her success,
I lost my compass. I really, really did. And I started trying to be in with the in crowd and bow into peer pressure.
she hit bottom at a drug-fueled party one night.
I felt God's hand grab me in my collar and pull me up like that and say, "That's enough."
The problem, she realized, was her own self-esteem.
How did you come to that realization, you think?
Through my faith. If I'm worthy of the love of Almighty God, creator of heaven and earth, who are you? And I also recognize I'm not any better than anybody else, but I'll be darned if anybody's better than me.
Did you think I'd lay down and die? Oh, no, not I will survive.
Her famous anthem began to have a more personal meaning.
No, I'm still alive. I've got all my life to live, and I've got all my love to give.
Does it ever get old to you?
No, it's always my favorite song in the show to sing.
Is it really?
Yeah, until now.
Now what's your favorite?
Now my favorite is Amazing Grace.
It's lovely.
Because it's as much my story as I Will Survive.
There was a time when I was broken.
By sharing her story with her fans, Gloria Gaynor says,
I'm giving them something that is going to last beyond the duration of my concert.
It's interesting when you give something of yourself that's very personal to you, but it's also a gift to them.
It's a gift to me. I always leave my concerts, you got as much out of this as I did.
I once was lost, so very lost. But now, you see, now I'm found. I was blind. I was blind. But thank God, now I see.